The night it happened, the San Francisco skyline glowed through our penthouse windows like a lie dressed in gold. I remember standing there, one hand on my belly, feeling my baby kick softly, when my phone buzzed with a notification that didn't belong to me. It was a medical alert, an automated update from Golden Gate Medical Center. The hospital where my husband, Dr. Cole Harrington, was the second most powerful man in the building. The hospital he swore I should never set foot in. The message didn't show my name. It showed a name I'd never seen before. Jenna Price. But the patient ID number, it was mine. My whole body went cold. I stared at the screen, breath trapped in my chest, unable to blink. How could my ID be tied to someone else's pregnancy? Why was a stranger's ultrasound filed under my insurance? And why did Cole always grab my phone the second a hospital email came through?
That was when I heard footsteps. His footsteps.
I locked the screen just as Cole walked in, rolling up the sleeves of his white coat, smelling of antiseptic and something floral that wasn't mine. His smile was tight, calculated, like he was arriving at a performance he'd rehearsed. "You're pale," he said, reaching for my wrist. "I told you not to stress. It's bad for the baby." His thumb pressed against my pulse, feeling every frantic beat. He was checking whether I'd found something. "I'm fine," I whispered. He searched my face too long, too deeply. Then he smiled again, softer this time, the way he used to when he loved me, or pretended to. "I'll schedule your next appointment," he said. "But not at my hospital. We agreed on that." No, he insisted on that. And for the first time, I felt a truth rising inside me, something dark, something dangerous. He wasn't protecting me. He was protecting something from me. From the outside, my life looked like the kind people posted on Instagram with glossy filters and captions about blessings. Our penthouse overlooked the San Francisco Bay, the kind of view realtors use to make buyers cry. Every morning, sunlight spilled across the marble floors like warm gold. Every night, city lights shimmered against the glass like stars leaning close to listen. And everywhere I went, people whispered the same thing about me. "She's lucky. She married a doctor." They didn't know luck could feel like a cage. Cole made sure our life looked perfect. The Mercedes GLE in the garage, the dinners at the Ritz-Carlton whenever he needed to celebrate a milestone, the Mont Blanc pen he left casually on the counter, as if to remind me he handled the important things, the curated smiles, the controlled tone, the way he touched my lower back in public, gentle enough to look loving, firm enough to communicate ownership. People admired him. Nurses adored him. His colleagues at Golden Gate Medical Center treated him like a man carved from brilliance and discipline. But at home, I saw the shadows behind his charm, the precision in his habits, the subtle corrections whenever I didn't speak the way he preferred. "You're too emotional, Harper. Relax. You're overthinking again. You always do. Let me handle your health. That's my field, not yours." At first, I mistook it for care. Now I recognized it as control. He insisted on managing every prenatal appointment, always at small clinics far from the hospital where he worked. He claimed it was to avoid conflict of interest, but every time I suggested a second opinion, he tensed, barely noticeable, but unmistakable to someone who'd learned to read storms in his silence. I wasn't allowed to drive long distances for safety. I wasn't allowed to carry heavy groceries for the baby. I wasn't allowed to choose my own vitamins, my own OBGYN, sometimes not even my own meals. "You're fragile," he said once, brushing my cheek with a thumb so gentle it frightened me. "Let me take care of everything." But it didn't feel like protection. It felt like preparation, like he was arranging my life into neat little columns he could control. And before the night of that mysterious medical alert, I forced myself to believe it was normal, that all husbands were like this. But now I know better. The first warning sign didn't come from a dramatic moment or a burst of intuition. It came from something small, so small I might have ignored it if I hadn't felt my heart flutter strangely that morning. My chest had tightened while climbing the stairs, and for the first time in years, the old fear returned. The fear of my heart condition, the one Cole insisted was so minor it wasn't worth mentioning. That was the day he took me to a clinic I had never heard of, an office squeezed between a hardware store and a laundromat on the edge of Daly City. It didn't match anything about Cole's carefully curated life. No polished floors, no advanced monitors, no familiar faces from Golden Gate Medical Center. Just a dim waiting room with outdated magazines and a receptionist who barely made eye contact. The doctor, a soft-spoken man named Dr. Ellison, looked like he hadn't slept in days. His white coat was wrinkled, his stethoscope old enough to belong in a museum, and his hands trembled slightly when he took my blood pressure. "You're experiencing shortness of breath?" he asked. I nodded. He glanced at Cole quickly, too quickly, before answering. "It's normal during pregnancy, nothing to worry about." But his eyes were telling a different story. I saw hesitation, fear, maybe even guilt. When he printed my results, I reached for the paper, but he pulled it back abruptly, folding it before handing it to Cole instead. "Oh," I said softly, pretending not to notice. "I thought that was for me." "It's better if I review it first," Cole said smoothly, slipping the paper into his coat pocket. "Some medical information can be misinterpreted." I wanted to believe him, I really did. But the way Dr. Ellison avoided my eyes made my stomach twist. As we walked out, I glanced back. He was standing in the doorway, shoulders sagging, watching me like he wanted to say something, warn me, beg me to run. But when Cole placed a hand on my back, the doctor retreated instantly, disappearing behind the door as if afraid. Driving home, my pulse thudded in my ears. I pressed a hand to my belly, whispering to my baby, "I'm okay, right?" But deep down, I already knew. The isolation didn't happen overnight. It crept in quietly, disguised as concern, disguised as love. After the appointment with Dr. Ellison, Cole became even more protective, at least that's what he called it. To me, it felt like being slowly boxed in. It started with my job. My manager called one afternoon, her voice hesitant, apologetic. "Harper, your husband contacted HR. He said your pregnancy is high risk. He requested reduced hours for you." I felt my throat close. Cole had never mentioned doing that. I hadn't even told him about the lightheaded spell I'd had during a meeting. But somehow, he knew. Next came the driving restrictions. "Just until the baby's stable," he said, taking my keys and slipping them into his coat pocket the way someone hides a knife from a child. I told myself it was temporary. A week, maybe. But soon a week became indefinite. Even the apartment changed. He installed smart locks for safety, but I noticed they only notified his phone, not mine. Groceries were delivered. Meals were pre-made. Vitamins, handed to me in little packets he prepared himself, sat on the counter each morning. "I'm taking care of you," he reminded me every time I questioned anything. Isn't that what a good husband does? But the more he took care of, the less freedom I had left. What scared me most wasn't the control, it was how quiet everything became. Friends stopped checking in because he told them I needed rest. My sister's calls went straight to voicemail because he changed my Do Not Disturb settings. Even my social media accounts showed me less and less of the outside world because my feed had been quietly filtered. I didn't notice all of it at once, just tiny pieces. A missing key here, a blocked number there, a calendar rescheduled without my consent. One night, standing by our floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, I realized I had spent an entire day without hearing another human voice besides Cole's. Not one, not even the neighbors in the hallway. A soft kick inside my belly jolted me. My baby was growing. My world was shrinking. I pressed a hand to the glass, staring at the glittering city below. Freedom so close, it felt cruel. The day I ran into her, I wasn't supposed to be outside. Cole had left early for a mandatory board meeting, taking the Mercedes and my keys with him as always. But the apartment felt smaller than usual, like the walls had inhaled and forgotten how to exhale. My chest tightened. I needed air, real air, so I slipped out before I could talk myself out of it. I walked to the Starbucks 2 blocks away, moving slowly, hand on my belly. It felt rebellious just to order a decaf latte without asking permission. The barista called my name, and I reached for the cup, only to freeze when I heard someone say my name again. Harper? Oh my God, is that you? I turned. For a moment, my breath caught in my throat. Standing there, in scrubs from Mount Sinai West, and holding an iced coffee, was Dr. Emily Carter, my college roommate, the woman who once pulled me through the darkest year of my life. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 years. Cole never liked her. She looked me up and down, her smile fading into something heavier. "You've lost weight," she murmured, concern clouding her eyes. "You okay? You look, I don't know, tired." I forced a laugh. Pregnancy will do that. But Emily wasn't buying it. She never had. "Mind if I sit?" she asked, already pulling out the chair beside me. She wasn't the type to wait for permission when she sensed something was wrong. We talked about small things first, her new job, her new apartment in Soma, the chaos of hospital life. But the more she watched me, the quieter she became. At one point, she reached across the table and gently took my wrist. "Your pulse is racing," she said, "and your hands are freezing. Harper, has anyone run blood work recently?" "Yes," I said automatically. "May I see the results?" The air around us shifted. I hesitated, because I didn't have them. Cole always kept them, always.
Emily's eyes narrowed. She leaned in.
"Harper, when was the last time you actually saw your own chart?" I opened my mouth, but no words came. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Something's off. I can feel it. Let me check you myself. No insurance, no paperwork. Just trust me." For the first time in months, I felt a sliver of hope and a stab of fear. Emily didn't waste a second. She drove me to a small diagnostic clinic she trusted in the Mission District, a place far enough from Cole's network that no one would recognize me. The building was old but clean, the kind of clinic where nurses still greeted patients by name. For the first time in months, I felt like a person, not a project being managed. Emily took my vitals herself. Her brows furrowed immediately. "Your heart rate is too high for someone who's been sitting," she murmured.
"And your oxygen saturation."
"Harper, this isn't normal." I swallowed hard. "Cole said all of that is typical in pregnancy." Emily looked at me with disbelief tinged with anger. "Not like this." She ordered a full panel, blood work, cardiac enzymes, hormone levels. The phlebotomist tied the band around my arm, drew several tubes of blood, then sent them off. Emily paced the room while we waited, tapping her pen against a clipboard in a rhythm that betrayed her worry. 30 minutes later, a nurse returned with the printouts. Emily grabbed the sheets, and then her face changed. She wasn't just confused, she was alarmed. She flipped page after page, her eyes scanning like she was searching for something impossible. "Emily?" My voice cracked. "What is it?" She looked up at me slowly. "Harper, these results don't match what I saw earlier."
"Your blood work shows normal heart function, normal hormone levels, everything perfectly clean."
She lowered her voice. "Too clean." I blinked. "I don't understand." She held up the pages. "This panel is identical to another patient I treated last month. Identical, Harper. Down to the decimals." She pointed to the patient ID. It wasn't mine, not even close. "They printed the wrong chart?" I asked, trying to breathe. Emily shook her head. "No. The blood sample was labeled with your name and your date of birth, but the results? They belong to someone else." A cold shiver crawled down my spine.
Are you saying someone replaced my labs? I'm saying, she whispered, leaning closer, that someone tampered with your medical identity. And this isn't amateur work. This is someone who knows the system inside out. Someone like Cole. My pulse hammered. My baby kicked,
And a thought struck me with terrifying clarity. Cole came home earlier than usual that night. I didn't hear the elevator doors open, didn't hear the soft chime of the penthouse lock. I only realized he was there when his reflection appeared behind mine in the kitchen window. Sharp, tense, too still. Where were you today? His voice was low, controlled, dangerous. My heart lurched. Emily had dropped me off 2 blocks away, just in case. I forced a smile that felt like it might crack my face. Just went for a short walk. I needed fresh air. He stepped closer, eyes scanning me like I was a misbehaving patient. Fresh air. His gaze dropped to the faint crease on my sleeve, the one from where Emily had held my arm during the blood draw. You never walk that far alone. I swallowed. It helps with the stress. He didn't blink. Harper, did you go somewhere else? The room felt smaller, hotter. My fingers curled around the edge of the counter to keep from shaking. No, why would I? He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled his phone from his coat pocket, tapped the screen, and turned it toward me. A map. A dot. My phone's GPS history. You turned off location sharing, he said softly, almost whispering. Why? My breath froze. I hadn't turned it off. Emily had. She said it was safer. I must have hit something by accident. He took a long breath, the kind people take when deciding which version of themselves to become. Harper, if you're hiding something from me, you're putting our baby at risk. The shift was sudden, anger melting into a gentle, practiced concern. The kind of concern he used on patients' families. You know how fragile you are, he murmured, brushing hair from my cheek. You shouldn't keep secrets. I forced myself not to flinch. His touch burned. I'm not hiding anything, I whispered. But his eyes darkened. He didn't believe me. And worse, he was offended that I even tried. He leaned down and kissed my forehead, but it wasn't a kiss. It was a warning. I need you to trust me, he said. And I need to know you're not letting other people interfere. Other people. Emily. He knew. My pulse thundered, painful and uneven. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, smiling faintly. 3 days passed after Cole's outburst, each one heavier than the last. I tried to act normal, ate the meals he prepared, took the vitamins he placed beside my water glass, pretended to sleep when he checked on me in the middle of the night. But inside, I was unraveling thread by thread. And that morning, when he left early for rounds, I felt a crack of oxygen for the first time. I needed to think. I needed space, so I did the only thing I could. I took the service elevator down to the garage and walked, slowly, carefully, toward the one place I knew had security cameras Cole didn't control. Golden Gate Medical Center's public parking structure. I didn't intend to go inside. I just wanted to see the place. The building where my husband spent half his life. The building he said was off limits for me. As I crossed the lot, a woman in navy scrubs stepped out from between 2 parked cars. She startled me so badly I gasped. She looked around before approaching, like she was afraid of being seen. She was young, maybe late 20s, with tired eyes and a badge clipped to her pocket. Her hands shook. "Harper?" she whispered. My blood ran cold. "Do I know you?" She swallowed hard. I shouldn't be talking to you. If he finds out..." Her voice cracked. "But you need to leave, right now." My heart hammered. "Leave? Leave what?" She looked over her shoulder again. "The hospital, the parking lot, all of it. He doesn't want you here." Panic flared. "Who are you talking about?" She hesitated, lips trembling.
And for a moment, I saw something, fear, deep and raw. "The things he's doing," she whispered. "The records, the tests. He's not protecting you." The air thinned. I stepped closer. "Please, tell me what you mean." But she stepped back, shaking her head violently. "No, I can't. If he sees me talking to you—" "Who?" I insisted, voice sharp. "Who are you afraid of?" She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes flicked toward the hospital entrance. And that's when I saw him. Cole, standing at the glass doors, watching us. The woman stiffened, turned, and darted away, disappearing between cars before I could say another word. I froze. Cole lifted a hand slowly, motioning me toward him.
I didn't remember walking home. My legs carried me like they belonged to someone else, numb and trembling, while my mind replayed the woman's terrified face again and again. By the time the penthouse door closed behind me, the fear had settled deep in my chest like a stone I couldn't swallow. I sat on the couch, hands shaking. My belly tightened with every breath. "I'm okay," I whispered to my baby, though I didn't believe it. Then my iPhone buzzed. At first I thought it was Cole. He always texted right after spotting me somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. But the message didn't come from him. It came from an unknown number, and the words made my blood turn to ice. "Do not trust anything from Golden Gate Medical Center. Leave while you still can." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned out everything else. Was this the same woman from the parking lot? A nurse? A whistleblower? Or was it someone trying to scare me? Before I could respond, another message appeared. "Your chart is compromised. Your labs are fake. Someone is altering your medical identity." My throat closed. I typed shakily, "Who are you?" The reply came instantly. "Someone who doesn't want you to die." My vision blurred. I blinked hard, forcing myself to stay conscious. My fingertips went cold. Everything Emily had warned me about rushed back like a tidal wave. The fake labs, the identical results, the doctor who acted like he wanted to tell me something but couldn't. And Cole. Always Cole. My phone buzzed again, but this time the alert came from the penthouse's security system. "Front door unlocked." I froze. Cole never left the door unlocked. Ever. I pressed a hand to my belly, breathing shallowly. "Please," I whispered to myself, "please just be a glitch." But then I heard the elevator ding. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, intentional. Cole's voice drifted through the hallway, deceptively calm. "Harper, we need to talk." Panic surged through me. Whoever sent that warning, they weren't trying to scare me. They were trying to save me, and they were running out of time. Cole stepped into the penthouse with the kind of stillness that made the air feel heavy. He didn't slam the door. He didn't raise his voice. That wasn't his style. His power came from quiet precision, from knowing exactly how to frighten someone without ever lifting his hand. He walked toward me slowly, loosening his tie like he'd just finished a long surgery. "You left the building today," he said. Not a question, a statement, a verdict. My pulse hammered. "I just needed to clear my head." "You didn't clear your head," he replied calmly. "You met someone." A cold shiver crawled down my spine. He knew. Of course he knew. "I saw you," he added, taking another step closer. "Talking to a woman in the parking lot. Do you think I wouldn't check the security footage?" I swallowed hard. She just asked for directions. "Harper." He exhaled sharply through his nose, disappointment dripping from every syllable. "You're not a good liar." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small black pouch. He tossed it onto the coffee table. It landed with a dull thud. Inside were my car keys, my spare keys, my old apartment keys, even the tiny key to the lockbox where I kept childhood letters. Every key I had ever owned. "I cleaned up," he said softly. "You won't need these anymore."
My breath hitched. Cole, I need my independence. No, he said, leaning in, his face inches from mine. You need safety.
And clearly you can't guarantee that on your own. He reached behind me and plucked my phone from my shaking hand. Before I could react, he tapped in a code, my code, and disabled biometric access. Then he switched off location privacy. Then he turned on full monitoring. You left me no choice, he murmured. You're spiraling, you're panicking. You're making dangerous decisions. My voice cracked. I'm not, you are. His tone sharpened. And until you give birth, I'm taking over, completely. He tapped my screen once more, then placed the phone gently on the table beside the keys. Now, he said, smoothing his sleeve, I want you to rest. Stress hurts the baby. My hands trembled violently. I couldn't breathe. And then I saw it, an unread notification glowing faintly on the phone he'd just unlocked. A new message from the unknown number. I locked myself in the bathroom after Cole went to his study, pretending I needed a shower to calm down. I didn't turn on the water. I just sat on the cold tile floor, both hands pressed against my belly, as if I could shield my baby from whatever storm was coming. My phone vibrated. Another message from the unknown number. He's monitoring you. He erased your access history. He replaced your emergency contacts. My throat tightened. Tears pricked my eyes. Whoever this person was, they knew too much, far more than someone guessing or trying to scare me. Before I could respond, another vibration buzzed against the tile. This time, it wasn't my phone. It was the tiny, cheap, prepaid phone Emily had slipped into my jacket pocket earlier that week, whispering, "Just in case he checks your calls." My heart thudded as I opened it. One new message. I'm outside your building. We need to talk. Please don't ignore this. Emily. I covered my mouth to stop a sob from escaping. For a moment, I didn't move, didn't breathe. Cole was just down the hall, if he even suspected. A soft knock startled me. I jerked upright, but it wasn't the bathroom door. It was the window. A whisper followed. Harper, it's me. I scrambled to pull back the blinds a fraction. There, standing on the narrow maintenance ledge, gripping the railing with white knuckles, was Emily Carter, still in her scrubs, face flushed from climbing the fire escape. I cracked the window open. Are you insane? I hissed. Probably, she whispered. But you're in danger, and I'm not letting you face this alone. I stared at her, speechless. She shoved a folder through the gap. These are lab logs from the clinic we went to. Your sample was swapped within 8 minutes of being processed. That kind of override requires high-level credentials. Her voice dropped. Harper, your husband has access to that system. My knees nearly gave out. Emily grabbed my hand. Listen to me. Whatever he's doing, it's escalating. You need an outside physician, someone he can't influence. I know someone, but you have to leave with me, soon. I glanced toward the door, terrified he'd hear us. I can't just walk out, I whispered. Emily's eyes hardened with resolve. Then we're not walking out. She squeezed my hand. We're sneaking you out. Getting out of the apartment felt like crossing a minefield. Emily timed everything. When the hallway cameras turned, when the night guard stepped away, when the elevator paused on the service floor. By the time we slipped into her car, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might bruise my ribs. She drove in silence, gripping the wheel, glancing at me every few seconds like she expected me to disappear. We headed toward Mount Sinai West, not the Golden Gate Medical Center Cole ruled over, but a hospital he had zero influence in. A hospital that didn't owe him anything. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. Emily guided me through side corridors until we reached a small office marked Cardiology, Dr. Mason Reeves. I froze. Emily, I don't know him. You don't need to, she whispered. You just need him to be honest. She knocked twice and pushed the door open.
A tall man with dark hair, rolled up sleeves, and tired eyes looked up from his desk. For a moment, he simply observed me, the way only real doctors do, reading pain before words. "This is Harper," Emily said. "She needs help, and she can't go through official channels." His forehead tightened.
Because of her husband. He didn't say it as a question. My stomach dropped.
"You know Cole?"
Mason nodded slowly. I used to work with him, until I saw things I shouldn't have. The room tilted slightly. Emily helped me sit. Mason pulled up a blank patient profile on his computer. Let's start from scratch. No shared systems, no linked databases, no way for him to alter anything. Emily handed him the folder of swapped lab logs. He scanned them, jaw tightening. This is deliberate, and whoever edited these knew exactly how to avoid detection. My hands went cold. Mason pulled out his stethoscope. Harper, I need to check your heart. Tell me if you feel dizzy. The moment the cold metal touched my skin, I felt something shift inside me, not physically, but emotionally. Someone was finally listening. Someone believed me. After a few minutes, Mason stepped back. Your heartbeat is irregular, more than pregnancy can explain. You should have been monitored weeks ago. I swallowed hard. Cole said I was fine. His face darkened. Cole says whatever benefits Cole. He typed quickly, printing a new set of orders, real ones, untouched. But just as he handed them to me, a nurse burst into the room, breathless. "Dr. Reeves, someone just called the front desk asking if Harper Lane checked in here." My blood turned to ice. The nurse's warning hit me like a punch to the chest. My vision blurred. I gripped the edge of Mason's desk to steady myself. He can't know I'm here," I whispered. But even as the words left my lips, I heard how naive they sounded. Cole always knew. Somehow. Mason moved quickly, locking the office door, lowering the blinds. "Stay calm. Panic will make your heart rate spike." He turned to Emily. "Get her water. And stay off the main floor." Emily rushed out, and Mason crouched beside me. "Harper, look at me. He won't get to you here." I wanted to believe him, but my body trembled uncontrollably. Then, 3 knocks on the door. Sharp, measured, familiar. "Harper?" A woman's voice, small, unsteady. Not Cole. My breath caught. Mason stood, ready to intervene, but something in me recognized that voice. I didn't know how, I didn't know why. Emily peeked in through the side hallway and whispered, "It's her, the woman from the parking lot." A chill shot up my spine. Mason cracked the door an inch. "You can't be back here." "Please," the woman begged. "I need to talk to her. I need to warn her." Her voice broke on the last word. I nodded weakly. Mason led her inside. The young woman stepped in, hugging herself like she was freezing. Her badge hung quickeably from her scrub pocket. "Harper Lane," she whispered, eyes glistening. I'm Jenna Price." My stomach flipped violently. Jenna? The name from the mysterious medical alert. The name tied to my insurance. The name tied to my patient ID. "You shouldn't be here," Mason said. But Jenna shook her head. "He lied to me," she said, voice trembling. "He said you had approved everything, that you knew, that your pregnancy wasn't viable and you—" She choked on her words. "He made it sound like you didn't want the baby." I felt the world tilt. "What?" Jenna sank into a chair. "I thought he loved me. I thought he was helping me. He registered my prenatal care under your name, said it was just insurance confusion. But last week, he told me to end the pregnancy." Her hands shook violently. "He said it was easier that way." My breath caught, horror crawling up my spine. Emily gasped. Mason swore under his breath. Jenna wiped her eyes. "And when I refused, He said he'd fix the problem himself. I stared at her. What problem? I whispered. She looked at me with devastating clarity. Jenna's words hung in the room like a toxin, spreading through the air, poisoning every breath I took. He meant you. My pulse roared in my ears. My baby kicked sharply, as if reacting to my panic. I gripped the arms of the chair to anchor myself. Mason straightened, his voice cool and controlled. Jenna, I need you to tell us exactly what he did with your records. She nodded weakly, pulling a folded piece of paper from her pocket, creased, smudged, and clearly handled too many times. I stole this from the admin desk, she whispered. It's the registration form he made me sign. She handed it to Mason. He unfolded it, and his jaw tightened. My name, my date of birth, my insurance policy number, all printed neatly at the top. But the signature wasn't mine. It didn't even try to look like mine. It's a duplicate profile, Mason muttered, a shadow chart. He created a second version of your identity to attach medical orders he didn't want traced to Jenna. I stared at him, numb. Can hospitals do that? They aren't supposed to, he said sharply. This is fraud. And if he's signing off on procedures under your name, that's criminal. He could lose his license. He could go to prison. Jenna swallowed hard. That's why he panicked when I refused the termination. If they compared our ultrasounds, the dates wouldn't match. The gestational age wouldn't match. It would expose everything. My stomach twisted violently. But why? Why tie her pregnancy to me? Mason hesitated before answering. Because you have a pre-existing cardiac condition. If someone reviewed your chart and saw you were pregnant, they might flag it as high risk. They might expect complications. His eyes met mine. Complications that could explain losing the baby. The room tilted. Emily grabbed my hand. Jenna's voice cracked. He told me you wouldn't be around long. He said once you... She couldn't finish. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I thought he meant emotionally. Not physically. Not my life. My baby thrashed again, a frightened flutter beneath my ribs. Mason snapped the folder closed. We're out of time. If Cole is tracing your location, he'll come here next. Emily nodded, already moving. We need to get her somewhere he can't access. Somewhere off-grid. Jenna wiped her eyes. I'll help you. I owe you that. I stood on unsteady legs, my heart thundering. We didn't make it far. Emily led us through a back hallway toward the staff exit, Jenna close behind, gripping her scrub top like it was armor. Mason walked beside me, checking my pulse every few steps. Stay calm, he whispered. Stress spikes your arrhythmia. But calm was impossible. Every corner felt like it was hiding his shadow. Halfway down the hall, the overhead lights flickered. Then everything went dark. Emergency generators hummed to life a moment later, bathing the corridor in cold red glow. Emily froze. This only happens during system overrides, she whispered. Footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate, familiar. From the far end of the hall, Cole stepped into view, still in his crisp white coat, his face calm in a way that made my skin crawl. Harper, he said, voice steady. You shouldn't run. It's dangerous for the baby. Jenna shrank behind Mason. Emily positioned herself between me and Cole, like a shield. Cole's gaze shifted to Emily, cold and precise. You've always been a problem, he murmured. Did you really think she'd be safer with you? Mason stepped forward. Cole, she knows everything. It's over. Cole's smile didn't falter. Nothing is over until I say it is. He reached into his coat, and for a terrifying second, I thought he was pulling out a weapon. But it was worse. It was a folder, thick, stuffed with papers.
He tossed it onto the floor between us. Pages spilled everywhere. My medical records, except not mine. Ultrasounds that weren't mine. Lab results I'd never seen. A psychological evaluation with my name at the top stating I exhibited early signs of perinatal psychosis. I staggered. What is this? Cole kept his voice gentle, almost sympathetic. Insurance issues, miscommunication. You're confused, Harper.
You've been under a lot of stress. Emily clenched her teeth.
You falsified her chart.
I corrected it, he replied, unfazed. For her safety. Mason's voice dropped to a low threat. If you take one step toward her, I'll call hospital security. Cole chuckled softly. Who do you think they'll believe? The disgraced cardiologist who quit? Or the acting medical director? Mason stiffened. Cole turned back to me, eyes softening in a way that made my stomach twist. Harper, sweetheart, come home, before this gets embarrassing. My legs shook. Sweat beaded on my forehead. Because in that moment, I understood something awful. He didn't fear being caught. He feared losing control. Mason didn't wait for Cole to take another step. He grabbed my wrist gently but firmly. We're moving. Now! Emily pulled Jenna along as we sprinted down the emergency stairwell, the alarm lights flashing red like a warning heartbeat. We exited onto a lower floor, records and data management. Rows of servers hummed behind temperature-controlled glass. Mason swiped his old ID card, holding his breath. For a moment, the reader blinked yellow, then green. We've got 60 seconds before the system flags it, he said. Inside. He ushered us into a cramped data room filled with terminals. Cold air hit my face. My chest tightened, not from fear this time, but instinct. Something important was here, something Cole never wanted anyone to see. Mason typed rapidly. Every doctor with admin clearance leaves a digital footprint. If Cole altered your files, there should be a shadow log. He's good, but nobody's perfect. Emily stood guard near the door. Jenna hovered near me, clutching her arms. Lines of code scrolled across the screen. File IDs, timestamps, access logs. Then Mason froze. Found it, he whispered. I stepped closer, heart pounding. There it was. Cole's username, Cole's password hash, Cole's access timestamp, and the linked action. Override. Patient identity merge. My name merged with Jenna's. Harper, Mason said quietly. This is the smoking gun. This shows premeditation, fraud, medical tampering. My knees weakened. Can we print it? No, Emily shook her head. He'd detect that instantly. I'm not printing, Mason muttered, plugging in a small encrypted drive. I'm copying everything. Suddenly, alarms blared overhead. Jenna jumped. He triggered a lockdown. Emily slammed the door shut. He knows someone is in the logs. Mason worked faster, fingers flying over the keyboard. 5%. 7. Come on! A loud bang echoed in the hallway. Then another. A fist hitting metal. Cole. His voice cut through the alarm. Calm, controlled, terrifying. Harper, open the door. You don't understand what you're doing. My blood ran cold. 40%, Mason whispered. Another bang. The frame shook violently. Emily braced a chair under the doorknob. Hurry! 60%. Harper, Cole called, voice softening into something colder than anger. Certainty. If you walk away right now, everything collapses for you. Not for me. For you. 90%, Mason breathed. The door dented inward. Metal screeched. Done! Mason yanked the drive free. Emily grabbed my hand. Run! We barreled out the back exit of the records floor, alarms still blaring like the hospital itself was panicking. Emily led us through a maze of staff corridors, her hand gripping mine so tightly my fingers throbbed. Mason kept glancing behind us, making sure Cole hadn't caught up. Jenna stayed close, shaking, whispering apologies under her breath, as if any of this were her fault. When we reached the parking structure, cold night air hit my lungs like freedom, and then security lights flooded the lot. A voice crackled through the intercom. "Dr. Harrington has issued a code gray. All staff, detain the patient immediately." Detain the patient. Me. I froze. He turned the hospital against me. Mason cursed softly. "We don't have much time. They'll block the exits." He shoved the encrypted drive into his coat pocket. "We need to get this to someone outside the hospital system. Someone with authority." "Who?" Jenna asked. "The medical board," Emily said. "Or the district attorney." Before we could take another step, 3 security officers emerged from the stairwell. Their hands hovered near their radios, eyes fixed on me like I was a threat instead of a pregnant woman barely standing. "Ms. Lane," one of them called out, "we need you to come with us. Your husband is concerned for your mental stability." There it was, the trap, the false diagnosis, the perinatal psychosis note he planted in the system. The thing he needed to make everything I said sound like delusion. I stepped back, shaking. "Please don't let them take me. He'll bury every piece of evidence." The officers approached, slow, careful, like I might snap. Mason stepped in front of me. "She's not going anywhere. She's under my care now." The officer's jaw tightened. "You resigned your privileges, Dr. Reeves." "Yes," Mason shot back, "which means Cole Harrington has no jurisdiction over me." The tension crackled between them. Then, the elevator dinged. Cole stepped out. White coat, perfect posture, expression smooth as glass. "Stand down," he told the officers, waving a hand. "I'll take it from here." The officers hesitated. Cole's gaze found me, and a smile, cold, controlled, victorious, curved on his lips. "Harper," he said gently, "you're scaring everyone. Let's go home." My knees buckled, because I knew that tone. That was the voice Cole used when he'd already won. Cole's smile didn't waver as he stepped toward us, each footstep deliberate, echoing through the concrete garage like a countdown. The security officers shifted uneasily, torn between authority and instinct. They could sense something was wrong, even if they didn't understand what. "Harper," Cole said softly, "you're frightened. That's why you're confused. Let me help you." I clutched the fabric of Mason's coat, feeling the hard outline of the encrypted drive through the pocket. My lifeline, my proof, my only way out. Emily stepped forward. "She's not confused. She's terrified because you falsified her records." Cole laughed, genuinely, as if she'd told a harmless joke. "Emily, please. Harper has been under immense psychological strain. Pregnancy can be destabilizing for some women." He said it loudly, deliberately, making sure the security officers heard every word. My chest tightened. This was his real weapon, not fists, not threats. Narrative. He controlled the story, and stories controlled people. Jenna trembled beside me. "Stop lying," she whispered. "Tell them what you did." Cole turned to her slowly. "Jenna, you should go home. You're young, emotional. You don't realize the damage you're doing to yourself." The condescension cracked something inside her. "You said she wouldn't be around much longer," Jenna snapped. "You said once she—" "Enough." The word sliced through the air. His mask slipped for just a breath. Behind it was something cold, calculating, dangerous. Mason seized the moment. He pulled the encrypted drive from his pocket and held it up. "This contains the system logs, your overrides, your shadow charts, everything." For the first time, Cole's expression shifted, barely, but enough. A flicker of alarm. "You accessed hospital servers illegally," Cole hissed. "That drive is inadmissible. You've broken confidentiality laws."
Mason didn't blink. But the medical board won't care how we got it. They'll care what's on it. Emily stepped closer to me. Harper, we need to get you in front of someone who can protect you. Tonight. Cole's voice rose, sharp and desperate. You leave with them, Harper, and you destroy everything we've built. My voice finally found its way out. You already destroyed it. His jaw clenched.
If you walk away, I can't save you. I met his eyes, really met them, and saw the truth. He never wanted to save me. He wanted to control me. Cole lunged first, not toward me, but toward Mason, toward the encrypted drive. He moved so fast I barely had time to gasp. 1 second, Mason was holding the drive up like a shield. The next, Cole slammed him against a concrete pillar, fingers clawing at his coat, desperate to reach the pocket where the evidence sat. Give it to me, Cole roared, his mask fully ripped away now. You don't understand what you're doing. Mason wrestled back, grunting, trying to keep his balance despite the impact. I understand perfectly, he spat. You're done. Emily grabbed my arm and yanked me behind her. Jenna screamed. Security officers rushed forward but hesitated. Because how do you intervene when the man attacking another doctor is the acting director of the hospital? The chaos bought Mason a split-second advantage. He shoved Cole off and darted backward. But Cole wasn't done. He lunged again. This time, Jenna intervened. She stepped between them, trembling but brave. Stop! You can't fix this by hurting people! Cole didn't even slow down. He shoved her aside so hard she hit the hood of a parked car, crying out as she fell. That single action, violent, deliberate, reckless, changed everything. The officers froze. Emily shouted, She's pregnant! What are you doing? Cole's breath came hard and ragged, his pupils blown wide. His entire facade, calm, polished, patient, was gone. Only the monster remained. Mason used the moment of distraction. He hurled the encrypted drive across the garage. It skidded under a parked SUV. Cole spun, too late. Mason shouted, Emily, get it! Emily sprinted. Cole bolted after her. I didn't think. My body moved before my brain. I stepped in front of him, blocking his path. He froze, inches from me. For the first time, his eyes didn't look like a doctor's or a husband's. They looked like a cornered predator. Harper, he breathed. Don't do this. We can fix everything. Just come home with me. My heart pounded. You tried to erase me. You were unstable, he snapped. You made me do it. You forced my hand. That sentence shattered whatever fear I still had left. Emily slid out from under the SUV, clutching the drive in her fist. Mason grabbed Jenna, helping her to her feet. Security officers finally stepped in, no longer confused. Cole saw the shift, and panic flashed across his face for the first time. He knew. Control was slipping. The garage erupted into motion the moment Cole realized he was no longer in control. Security officers stepped in, not to detain me, but to restrain him. Mason held Jenna upright as she winced in pain, while Emily clutched the encrypted drive like it was a newborn. And for the first time since all this began, I wasn't the one trembling. Cole was. Don't touch me, he barked at the officers, struggling as they locked cuffs around his wrists. She's delusional. They're manipulating her. I am the acting medical director of this hospital. But his voice cracked, not with anger, but with fear, because he knew it was over. Emily handed the drive to a supervisor who had just rushed in. This contains evidence of patient identity tampering, insurance fraud, and medical sabotage, she said firmly. Multiple witnesses will testify. Cole's face twisted. You're throwing away your career for her? He hissed at Emily. She didn't hesitate. No, I'm saving hers. Mason stepped forward, calm and resolute. And now a district attorney will save countless others you've hurt. Cole lunged toward me then, like a man reaching for the last thread of a life slipping away. Harper, tell them the truth. Tell them you made a mistake. Tell them you didn't mean any of this. I stepped back, protecting my belly with both hands. The truth, I said, my voice finally steady.
is that you tried to erase me, and you thought you'd get away with it." His expression crumpled, rage, disbelief, desperation colliding all at once. "Everything I did was for you," he spat. "No," I whispered. "Everything you did was to control me." That was the moment something cracked in him.
The officers dragged him toward the elevator as he shouted threats, promises, pleas, none of which mattered anymore. The doors closed, swallowing him whole. Silence fell. Jenna sobbed quietly. Emily exhaled for the first time in minutes. Mason turned to me, his eyes soft. "It's over," he said gently. And for the first time, I believed it. Weeks later, the medical board permanently revoked Cole's license. Charges were filed: fraud, coercion, reckless endangerment. Jenna received protection and counseling. Emily was recognized for whistleblowing. And Mason stayed. He was there when I delivered my daughter, healthy, strong, loud enough to scare the nurses. When I signed the documents ending my marriage. When I moved into a quiet little townhouse overlooking the bay. One evening, as the sunset washed the water pink and gold, Mason took my hand. "You're safe now, Harper," he murmured. "And you're not alone." For the first time in a long, brutal chapter, I let myself believe in a future that wasn't built on fear. And just like that, our story comes to an end. But hey, you're still here with us, right? If you stayed all the way until now, it means something in this journey touched your heart. Maybe a quiet pain, maybe a memory, maybe a truth you've been trying to ignore. And that's okay. Stories don't just entertain us. Sometimes they open the windows we've tried to keep shut. Harper's story reminds us of something Marcus Aurelius once wrote. "You have power over your mind, not outside events." We can't always control what others do to us, the betrayal, the manipulation, the hurt. But we can choose how to rise afterward. And like Harper, sometimes healing starts the moment we decide, enough. My life belongs to me again. So if you're going through something heavy, remember, you're not broken. You're becoming. You're learning boundaries. You're learning strength. You're learning to walk away from what was never love in the first place. And now, my dear friends, if this story gave you courage, comfort, or simply made you feel understood, please like the video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to our channel so you never walk through these stories alone. We're here with you, always. This story is a work of fiction created entirely for emotional reflection and entertainment. None of the events, characters, hospitals, or situations represent real people or real medical institutions. Any resemblance to actual individuals is purely coincidental. Our intention is to explore themes of courage, healing, and personal empowerment through dramatic storytelling, not to provide medical advice or depict real healthcare practices. Viewers should not interpret any part of this narrative as factual reporting or guidance. If you are experiencing any difficulties in your own life, especially related to health or relationships, please seek support from licensed professionals. Fiction allows us to examine deep emotions in a safe space, and this channel is committed to telling responsible, imaginative stories that inspire growth and resilience. Thank you for watching and supporting our creative work. Your presence means more than you know.